I want to start with the OCG ban list. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, because that's what I'm most interested about most of these things. And I have not seen this one at all. Well, I have seen the first two because it was impossible to miss, but I have not gone over all of this. I haven't thought about this. I wanted to make it my first reaction as we go. I've seen a lot of posts of like, oh, they murdered everything. I'm gonna be honest with you. We'll see how bad it really is. But I'm not that mad about that. I'm not that mad about that. I think that's something that, especially considering the situation of the OCG right now, think about it that way. If some people in the TCG are getting tired of Tearlaments by now, imagine the people in the OCG, because they've had it for like a lot longer. They've had Power of the Elements since April, according to chat, which is 8 months now. 8 months of Tearlaments. And you can say whatever you want about Tearlaments. You can like Tearlaments, you can dislike Tearlaments. I personally think Tearlaments is healthy, or like is a cool deck. It's not a bad format. The thing is, even formats that are good have to end at some point. And they can only end in two ways. You either kill the deck with a ban list, or you power creep the shit out of the stuff. And honestly, I prefer that approach of murdering Tearlaments on a ban list, because I think power creeping Tearlaments is very, very hard and would be potentially unhealthy. Of course, there will be power creep. There's always power creep in Yu-Gi-Oh, but I feel like sometimes it feels really good to have those ban lists that just like reset, you know, just reset. Sometimes I like that, even if I don't dislike the decks that they hit, some of them, right? But all that being said, that's just my intro, because I haven't even looked at all the changes yet. But I mean, I'm seeing the first two changes already, and I'm gonna be honest with you, both of those changes are excellent. By the way, this is the original Japanese announcement page. I just have it on Google Translate, so we'll see, you know, if some of the text is weird or whatever. Kid Kalos and Barrier Statue banned. Honestly, they couldn't have picked better bans, I think. If you had just 2 bans available to do anything about this format, I would ban exactly those 2. Those are the first 2 that I would hit. Of course, there's other stuff, like Instant Fusion should probably be banned at some point. Abyss Dweller should probably be banned. But if you say like, okay, you have 2 bans available, those are the 2. 100% in my opinion. Kid Kalos is the most broken card in Tearlament by far, and Barrier Statue is just the one reason why Flunder is even a problem to begin with. I think without Barrier Statue, hands down, Flunder could be okay. Of course, the Feather Storm is a problem card and should also be on the ban list, but you know what? We'll take these 2 for the OCG. I'm even interested in seeing what they did with the other Tearlaments, because they have, correct me if this is wrong, I think they have Pearl Rhino limited, and I think they have Havness also limited or semi-limited. I personally even think that without Kid Kalos, they could probably even come back. Maybe they didn't want to risk it, but we'll see. Well, you know what? Let's see what they did. Ancient Fairy Dragon to 1? Oh, okay. Ancient Fairy Dragon will have the following new text. Oh, the errata. Oh no, I saw this morning, but I haven't read the text yet. So this is auto translated, but let's see if it's understandable. Tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner monsters. You can only use this card's names 1 and 2 effects once per turn. Can be activated during your main phase. Special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. That stayed the same. Can be activated during your main phase. Destroy all cards in the field zone and recover 1,000 life points. After that, you can add 1 field spell card with a different card name from the destroyed card from your deck to your hand. Oh, hold on. They added heart once per turn, which doesn't matter because it's at 1, kind of. You could technically recycle it, but sure. And then the second part is the different name, right? That's a good change, though. I like this. I like this. First of all, I think most of the time, almost everything from the extra deck should be heart once per turn, is my opinion. Because extra deck cards are by default accessible at any time, right? You're not limited to how often you can summon them or whatever, right? In a way, you can see it as every extra deck monster is highly searchable. So that's a good change. The question here that I'm also seeing here in chat a lot is this card still too powerful? And I'm gonna be honest with you, it might be, because it's still really, really strong. Of course, adding a different field spell is a restriction, but I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a lot of decks that can easily incorporate this still. I mean, the first thing I'm thinking about is like you can use this in, for example, Dragon Link, because Dragon Link can also easily summon it. And Dragon Link will have a free Boot Sector or Ravine to pop, so you can basically search any field spell in the game in any normal Dragon Link combo, which is scary. It's definitely a good errata. It's not like an errata like they did with Imperial Order, right? Where Imperial Order was changed, but not really. Like, haha, jokes, it didn't change at all. It's still busted and stupid. This one changed. Hard once per turn and searching a different name, that's a real change. It makes the card weaker. The question is, is that still too powerful? We'll see. But I still think it's a reasonable errata. We'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens with this. Next up. Oh, what? Okay, these are the limits. Let's go. I wanted to go through it one by one, but I saw these down here. What the hell? Okay, so they limited Kashtira Unicorn and Kashtira Fenrir. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I hate this change. I hate the Fenrir change. I hate it. I like the Unicorn change. I do think Kashtira should have been hit. The reason I hate Fenrir at 1 means that Fenrir cannot be splashed into decks anymore. That's what I really hate. I think Fenrir should be at 2. I think Fenrir is kind of the one card next to like Destiny Hero Malicious that should be on the semi-limited list, because I was really happy when they announced Fenrir, because it felt like this, you know, overall good card that you can play in every deck to answer certain floodgates and whatnot, like help break boards while being a good card going first. We talked about this a lot back when we had these floodgate discussions, the generic out discussions. We needed main deckable outs for these cards, you know. I really liked the design on Fenrir. I think Fenrir outside of pure Kashtira is a fine card. Don't get me wrong, it's very, very strong. I don't think that necessarily makes it bad. I really hope that the TCG doesn't follow suit on this one and instead semi-limits Fenrir. It's still splashable, just not an instant +1. Yeah, but I think that's too weak, to be honest. I think that's a little too weak. I don't like 1. I think 2 is fine. It's very, very strong. That's why I think it should go from 3 to 2, just so you draw it a little less often. But in terms of what it does, I would keep it the same, because yeah, I think Fenrir should be able to search Fenrir. I mean, I think it's genuinely okay to disagree on the take. I think it's also fine to be like Fenrir should be at 1 because it shouldn't be able to search itself. I can understand that. I personally am of a different opinion. I like when they make cards like this that are like splashable in a lot of decks and help you answer various situations. I liked Fenrir. Or I still like Fenrir, and I hope we get to play with 2 Fenrirs at some, like, still for a while. At least for a while. Because right now, the problem is, like, everyone is just playing Bystials instead in Tearlament format. So Fenrir, outside of pure Kashtira, doesn't really get its spotlight. It doesn't really get to shine as much as I would like it to, right? Because as long as we have Tearlament meta, you're always going to play Bystials instead. That's what it is right now in the TCG. No one really main decks Fenrir. Very few. Not no one. I would like to have a format where we can main deck Fenrir at 2, but okay. Unicorn at 1, though, I can totally understand, because pure Kashtira is very strong, and it has a playstyle that I feel like a lot of people don't like. Anyways, those are good hits. These 2 down here, the Sharon and the Rhinoheart, I can understand it, but I'm gonna be honest, I think with the Tearlament Kalos ban, they didn't have to do that. They are sending a message. I guess they just wanted to make sure this time, right? Because I feel like last banlist they tried and didn't succeed, and this time they just wanted to make sure, which fair enough. And I will say, on top of that, I've said this before, but Sharon is just a good card in general. Sharon is a good card even outside of Tearlaments. It just hasn't seen play yet, but I promise you, if there's ever another deck that just really likes graveyard effects and level 4 extenders and has like monsters you want to discard from, which aren't really the biggest requirements. A lot of decks like level 4 dark monsters. A lot of decks like milling cards. A lot of decks like sending cards from their hand to the graveyard. You can play Sharon in a lot of decks. It's not being played in other decks right now because everyone is playing Tearlaments, but at some point, that card could absolutely see play. I guess as a preemptive hit, I don't actually mind it. The Rhinoheart, honestly, not necessary, but you know what? Fair enough. I mean, think of it that way. If the Kid Kalos ban is enough to kill Tearlaments, then who cares if they have one Shaver and one Rhinoheart? If it's dead, it's dead. But if the Kid Kalos ban hypothetically wasn't enough, then better be safe than sorry and hit these, right? So fair enough. Why kill it and not make it fair? I understand that sentiment, but I don't think there's a realistic way to make Tearlaments fair. Sometimes you just gotta kill off some stuff. You know, sometimes you have to admit, okay, we designed this deck and I think it's a little bit too strong. I'm okay with the deck dying. It's kind of an admission that tier design is flawed, which is a good thing though. It's a good thing for a company to be able to admit that type of stuff. Even though they were a little slow at doing it, like tier was very, very relevant for very long. But it's a good thing for them to be like, okay, what we did here, kind of an oopsie. It turned out a little bit too strong. Let's just get rid of it. You know, I think that's okay. I can live with that. All right, the next two. So we have Ptolemaeus, which I'm going to be honest with you, this will not matter in the TCG. Everyone who's been playing Ptolemaeus in the TCG is out of their minds in most decks. Like, this card requires 3 extra deck slots for something that one Abyss Dweller does pretty much right now. Ptolemaeus is copium unless they release like new broken, I don't know, rank 5s that you can rank up into or whatever. And then Magnamut is the perfect limit, honestly. Magnamut should be limited, I believe. After having played with Bystials for a while now, I kind of like that they left it at 1 instead of banning it, even though I think the card is technically ban worthy. I kind of like leaving it at 1 because it means you can technically still play it in stuff like Dragon decks, where you can summon it off of Sphere to get follow-up. I think that's a cool thing. You can also Lubellion for it in pure Bystials, exactly. There's like very, very few decks that can search it, right? Some decks can search Magnamut, and I think those decks should be able to play the 1. I do think, and I mean, this could have happened. I haven't looked at the rest of the list. I do think that Druid's Worm could also be made an argument for to be at 1 or 2. All right, we have the next 2. Okay, we have Steam the Cloak again. I was concerned about Steam the Cloak when we got it back, but after a while now, I gotta say, it feels fine. It doesn't really do much. They might regret it at some point, but we'll see about that. Change of Heart came back to 1 without a text change. Thank God. The card is fine. We have it in the TCG at 1, and honestly, in my recent ban list discussions, I even thought about maybe putting it higher than 1. The card is really strong, I feel like, but it doesn't even see that much play. But whenever it does, it doesn't feel that broken. However, I don't think I want to live in a world where we have 3 Change of Heart, 3 Mind Control. Maybe I do. Maybe that's fine. I think 3 Change of Heart, 3 Mind Control seems a little bit too much. Mind Control is still limited for the TCG. I think that should come off the list. I can live with 3 Mind Control, 1 Change of Heart. Oh, this is a long ass list. They really nuked it. Okay. Oh, is this the Kashtira field spell? Oh God, they went hard on that stuff. That card also just came out. Is this a record? When did Photon Hypernova release? A month ago. Okay, I thought it was more recently. That is very quick. Damn, Kashtira must be like hated in the OCG. I'm not hearing a lot of good thing about Kashtira, to be honest. Kashtira feels like something that not many people like to go up against. But then again, the same is true for Flunder, and for like Flunder, it took forever. I think the card in itself is definitely strong enough to be limited, so good on you. And the same goes for Branded Fusion. I'm a big fan of Despia. I love the Despia archetype. I still think they kind of missed the mark a little bit on Branded Fusion. They made that 1 card a little bit too strong. 1 copy, I think, is fine because you can search it. You can set it back with Tragedy. You can recycle it once you have it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, Branded Fusion is a card that should be at 1 or banned. So I'm fine. I like Branded. I like Despia. I really like Branded Despia. But like, even if you like an archetype, you gotta admit that that card, it's a custom card. Like, come on. It's a literal custom card. And then new semi-restricted card. Galatea, was that limited or even banned? That's good. Then we have Swap Frog. Where was Swap Frog at? Where was my homie Swap Frog? Why'd they put Swap to 1? Isn't Toad banned? Toad is banned and Swap Frog was limited. Why? What did he do to you, Konami? Free my boy. They have Ronin Toad. Okay. I mean, still, I think without Toad, free the Swap Frog. Thank you. All right, next up, we got Kagari. Ooh, what do they have now? 2 engaged, 2 Kagari? Interesting. What is the sentiment on Sky Striker right now in the community, by the way? Because I feel like without Mystic Mine, who can really still hate Sky Striker? I liked Sky Striker before Mystic Mine. I'm not asking if you think it's good or not, but like, I think Sky Striker is totally fine as long as it's not a Mystic Mine deck. And also at the same time, I don't even think it's that good. I don't even think Sky Striker is that strong in the OCG or TCG. I don't think we're going to see this deck do much with 2 Kagaris. Everyone is always like hating on these decks that do incredible first turn combos, incredible first turn boards that are like super fast to win the game. Like, everyone always complains about that. But then when Sky Striker is seeing play, which is like the complete opposite, right? Doesn't make a board, doesn't have any freaking heart negates, just tries to play the grind game. They hate that too. Honestly, sometimes I think people just like to complain. As long as my opponent doesn't top deck engage, I'm fine with Sky. Look, if anyone should be mad at Sky Striker, it should be me. And we will not talk about why. We will not bring it up. But even I am not against Sky Striker. I like Sky Striker. Yadagarasu semi-limit is irrelevant. That card will not see play. Rite of Aramis here. Okay, now I need your help. What is the situation of Adventure right now overall? Griffin is banned. What else? Is everything else at 3? Right was at 1. Oh, there's more to it? Okay. We'll come back to the Rite of Aramis here once we've seen the entire ban list. Infernity Launcher semi-limited. I have mixed feelings about this. I have 3 feelings about Infernity Launcher. My first feeling when I saw that, I was happy because I'm gonna be honest, I love Infernity. But then again, my next feeling is that Infernity in itself isn't really that healthy. I realize that. I'm aware that the Infernity design, the deck, is not the most balanced or fair concept, right? Because Infernity is just like an all-out combo deck that tries to do the craziest stuff and set up unbreakable boards, right? And then my final feeling on the card is that I don't think it's going to be relevant, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be relevant, so it's fine. There's like better first turn combo decks that do it better than Infernity. The fact that Infernity has to have no cards in hand means like you can't really play hand traps, so you'd have to play like a board breaker Infernity, or you can play Imperm, but that's about it. We'll see if it's relevant, but I doubt that it will be, so I guess it's fine. Oh, they have more goods and Raigeki and Light Stage. Hold on, what were these? Stupid Burial and Thunderbolt have been hit on the ban list. God, okay. I don't understand both of these. You can make an argument for it because the card is just generally good, right? It sees play every once in a while. Like, we played this card in 2017 when it came out. We played it in Sky Striker. You could play it in whatever. Then you can send the Rainbow Bridge now. It was good in Spiral. It was good in Tearlaments. It's just a good card overall. So I guess there is an argument for it to be on the ban list. It's just a weird place for it to be. Semi-limited, because if you would really think that it's that strong, then why not limited just like Foolish Burial, right? Which there's even an argument for Foolish Burial to be banned because the generic access to the deck is just powerful. Even though I've kind of gotten used to playing with one Foolish, and I think that's fine. I think they could do the same treatment for the Stupid Burial, but okay. Raigeki, I don't really understand, because we have 3 in the TCG right now, and honestly, no one bats an eye at 3 Raigeki. That card is just fine. No one cares. Maybe it was very strong in this format, in the OCG. I remember seeing it in a couple of decks, but okay. Then we have Light Stage, which honestly, I think is fine. We have gotten the 3rd Light Stage in the TCG and it didn't really make any trouble. It's weird because Light Stage was so strong for such a long time in the TCG. For like a couple of years, it seemed very strong and everyone was happy when it finally got limited. But now we've seen cards like Pearl Rhino and such that like surge on activation and do so much more than Light Stage, that like Light Stage in comparison just feels like okay, right? So that's all right. And then we have the cards that are unlimited. We have Dragon Buster, Double Iris, and Enchantress. Honestly, I think all of those are very fine. Oh, and okay, I don't like that one. I mean, do I hate that one? Like, the thing is about Eldritch, I don't think these cards are the problem. I don't think the Eldritch cards are the problem. So in a way, I think it's okay. Torn Scale too. Oh, I guess there's an image missing. Phantom Knight Torn. Okay, there it is. Yeah, it says it here. Okay. Double Iris is fine. Buster Dragon is... I don't know why this card is even on the ban list. ABC sucks. And then Enchantress. I honestly think they could even unlimit Rite of Ramis here. I think banning Griffin is the perfect solution. But overall, this is a massive ban list. And I'm gonna be honest, I think it's a good one. Like I said earlier, I think every once in a while, it is healthy for the game to have this kind of reset, right? Because let's be real, there's 2 options on how to give us new decks or like a refreshing format. The number 1 way is power creep. The number 2 way is the ban list, killing off some of the stuff. And I'm going to be honest, Kashtira and Tearlament, they seemed so strong that power creeping those decks is scary. Like, if they went for a power creep approach, that'd be a little concerning. So I'm happy with the reset. I hope we get the same in the TCG. Honestly, I would not be mad about it at all if we got the exact same right now. We do have to hit Sprite too, because they already have the Sprite hits. Yeah, of course, of course. And I say that even though I don't hate Tearlaments. I actually think Tearlament is kind of a healthy format, right? I think Tearlament is fine. But even decks that I think are fine, at some point, I think they should move out of the meta to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting. Everything becomes boring after a while. So I think it was necessary. There's 2 things I don't necessarily agree with. Everything else is fine with me. The first thing is I'm a little concerned about Ancient Fairy Dragon, because I do think this card getting an errata means that we will also get it in the TCG. And I'm not sure if this card is not still too powerful. It might be. I'm a little concerned about that. I guess it's okay to try it, but this card might end up having to be banned again. The second thing I don't necessarily agree with is limiting Fenrir. I would have preferred seeing Fenrir semi-limited for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. I was kind of a fan of Fenrir as a splashable card in most decks, and I think it loses that quality as a one-off, and I would have liked it to keep that. Those are the two things that I don't necessarily agree with. Everything else is pretty good. This is like a solid 9 out of 10 ban list, I think. I can only hope that the TCG follows suit on this. I don't know if you agree. Let me know if you agree. I think this would be cool.